There comes a moment in every person's life when you realize silence speaks louder than words ever could. You see? True power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply stands still. The most dangerous person in the room is not the one making the most noise, but the one who has mastered the art of restraint. The one who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain because they know who they are. We live in a world where everyone is trying to prove something. Everybody wants to be seen, to be heard, to be liked, to be validated. But I came to tell you tonight, when you know your worth, you don't chase approval, you attract respect. You don't run after people, people begin to run after purpose. You don't explain yourself to those who never tried to understand you in the first place. You simply walk in quiet confidence, and your silence begins to speak for you. Let me tell you something, when you stop chasing, you start choosing. When you stop begging, you start building. When you stop explaining, you start expanding. And when you learn to be silent, heaven begins to make noise on your behalf. Because silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It is the language of the wise. It is the posture of those who have already discovered their value. Never chase, never beg, never explain. Let your silence become your superpower. Because when you master silence, you no longer need to prove your worth. The world will start to recognize it. There's a kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to persuade, or perform. It's a power wrapped in calm. It's presence without noise, confidence without confrontation, and influence without intimidation. That power is silence. Because silence is not absence, it is authority under control. You see, we've been conditioned to think that power is loud, that influence must echo, that success must shout. We've been taught that if we're not constantly talking, explaining, or defending ourselves, we'll be forgotten. But that's a lie. True authority doesn't come from volume, it comes from composure. The loudest voice in the room is rarely the one that holds the most strength. It's usually the one trying hardest to be heard. Silence is not retreat, it's restraint. It's knowing that not every comment deserves a response. Not every insult deserves energy. And not every misunderstanding deserves explanation. Because the moment you try to explain your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you, you've already lowered your value. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to protect your peace. When you're silent, you're not empty, you're observing, you're calculating, you're discerning, you're allowing wisdom to do what noise cannot speak through patience. Silence has its own language. It tells the world, I'm in control of me. It says, I choose my battles and I choose them wisely. Silence is strength that refuses to be provoked. It's the calm center of the storm that says, I'll respond when it matters, not when I'm triggered. People often confuse silence with weakness because they can't comprehend the discipline it takes to remain still when every part of you wants to react. It takes courage to be quiet. It takes strength to listen when your ego is begging to speak. It takes wisdom to realize that sometimes silence accomplishes what words never could. Because words may win arguments, but silence wins respect. Have you ever noticed that the most secure people are often the quietest? They don't need to prove who they are, they already know. They don't need to defend every decision, they understand that time reveals truth. They don't need to shout their value, they embody it. Their silence commands a kind of attention that noise could never buy. Silence is the pause between action and reaction that determines which one defines you. It's that moment when you could fight back, but you choose focus instead. It's when you could speak, but you decide to let your results talk louder. It's when you could justify, but you realize that those who matter don't need it, and those who demand it don't deserve it. When you master silence, you master yourself, because silence gives you space to think before you speak, to feel before you act, and to rise before you react. It's the invisible shield that keeps you steady in chaos. It's the hidden armor of those who've learned that peace is priceless and attention is expensive. Don't let the world mistake your quiet for confusion. Your stillness is not surrender, it's strategy. You're not ignoring, you're preserving. You're not absent, you're observing. You're not weak, you're wise. Because silence is the mark of someone who no longer needs to chase validation or approval. They've outgrown the noise that once distracted them. So the next time someone tries to draw you into their storm, stay in your calm. When they question your silence, let it speak for you. You don't owe explanations to those who cannot comprehend your growth. Remember, Your power isn't proven by how loud you speak, but by how little you need to dot, because silence is not absence, it's authority under control. It's the quiet roar of strength, waiting for the right moment to be heard. When you stop chasing people, something incredible begins to happen. You start attracting purpose. You see, chasing drains your energy, but purpose fuels it. When you chase people, you're moving on their schedule, their terms, their direction. But when you walk in purpose, people are drawn to your clarity, to your focus, to your peace. There's a difference between running after attention and walking in intention. One leaves you exhausted, the other leaves you empowered. Many people spend their lives in pursuit of approval, running after friendships, relationships, opportunities, and validation, hoping someone will notice their worth. But when you truly understand your value, you stop running, you stop proving, you stop performing, because people who are meant for your life don't need to be chased. They'll recognize the energy of purpose and be drawn to it. Chasing people often comes from fear of being left out, forgotten, or unloved. But chasing people who don't see your value will always make you question your own. It will make you shrink to fit spaces that were never designed for you. It will make you beg for attention that was never yours to earn. When you chase, you teach others that your presence is negotiable. But when you stand still in self-respect, you teach them that your energy is priceless. Purpose doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't run after, it draws in. When you align with who you really are, you stop needing everyone else to agree with it. The right people find you because purpose creates gravity. It pulls the right things into your orbit and releases what doesn't belong. You no longer have to run behind doors that close. You simply build doors of your own. You must understand chasing is an act of desperation, but attraction is a reflection of direction. When you chase, you're trying to convince someone of your value. When you attract, you already know it. You're no longer trying to fit into someone else's world. You're creating your own. And the moment you do that, your energy shifts. The people who once overlooked you will begin to notice you, not because you tried harder, but because you stopped trying altogether. Think about it. When the sun rises, it doesn't chase the flowers. It simply shines, and the flowers turn toward it. That's the power of alignment. You don't have to force what's meant for you. You just have to become who you were meant to be. You don't chase opportunities, you grow into them. You don't beg for attention. You embody purpose so powerfully that attention becomes unnecessary. Every time you chase people, you abandon the path that was meant for you. But every time you focus on your growth, your peace, and your purpose, you draw everything that's meant to be yours closer. The right people will see your worth without you having to announce it. The right relationships will flow without you having to force them. The right opportunities will open without you having to break them down. Stop chasing after those who keep walking away. Stop trying to prove yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop running after those who only remember you when they need you. The moment you stop chasing, you reclaim your time, your dignity, and your direction. Because when you chase people, you lose yourself, but when you chase purpose, you find yourself. Your energy is currency, spend it wisely. Don't invest it in convincing others to see what you already know about yourself. Focus it on becoming the best version of you, and let your growth make the noise. The people who belong in your life will recognize your value without a word. They will see your silence, your focus, your peace, and they'll be drawn not to your need for them, but to your purpose within you, because when you stop chasing people, you start attracting purpose. And purpose never runs away from those who stand still long enough to walk in it. Your peace is the proof that you've discovered your power, because real strength doesn't live in chaos, it lives in calm. It's easy to look powerful when life is loud and everything is going your way, but true power is revealed when the noise rises and you still stay steady. When others panic and you remain composed, when people try to provoke you, but your peace refuses to be disturbed. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of control. It's knowing that you can face the storm without letting it inside you. It's understanding that not every battle deserves your attention, and not every distraction deserves your energy. When you've found your peace, you found your center, and from that center, you operate with quiet confidence, not reactionary chaos. There's a moment in life when you stop fighting for attention and start protecting your energy. That's the moment peace begins. When you realize that nothing is more expensive than your inner calm, you stop giving discounts to chaos. You stop letting other people's moods control your mindset. You stop giving your power away every time someone disagrees with you or disrespects you. Peace is not passive, it's powerful. It's the discipline of being unmoved in a world that constantly tries to shake you. Your peace is your proof that you've matured, proof that you've learned to separate what matters from what doesn't, proof that you've evolved beyond reacting to everything that once bothered you. When you no longer need to clap back, argue, or explain, you're not losing your voice, you're gaining your power. Because peace doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from controlling yourself. The most unshakable people are not those who fight every battle. They're the ones who choose which ones are worth their breath. They understand that peace is protection. It guards your focus, your creativity, your clarity. You can't build your future while fighting every rumor, defending every opinion, or chasing every misunderstanding. Peace says, I know my truth. I don't need to prove it. Peace says, I choose to protect my mind more than I please the crowd. When you live in peace, people will mistake it for arrogance. They'll wonder why you're not reacting, why you're not explaining, why you're not chasing. But peace doesn't explain itself. It doesn't need to, it just is. Because peace doesn't perform, it simply radiates. It speaks without sound and influences without effort. It's the calm assurance that whatever happens outside of you can't change what's settled inside of you. You reach a point where silence becomes your reply, calm becomes your defense, and peace becomes your power. Because the moment you allow someone to pull you out of character, you hand them control of your direction. But when you protect your peace, you protect your purpose. You refuse to let chaos dictate your pace. You choose stillness over struggle and clarity over conflict. Peace is not just emotional, it's strategic. It's what gives you the strength to think clearly, act wisely, and move intentionally. People who live in peace make better decisions because their minds aren't clouded by drama or noise. They know that peace isn't found in people, places, or possessions. It's found in perspective. It's not what happens to you. It's how you respond to what happens to you that determines your power. So, guard your peace like it's gold, because it is. Protect it from unnecessary arguments, from emotional leeches, from anything that disturbs your direction. The moment you lose your peace, you lose your power. But when you hold your peace, you hold your strength, your focus, and your influence. Because your peace is not weakness, it's evidence. It's the proof that you've discovered your power and no longer need noise to show it. Explanations drain energy, silence multiplies influence. Because the moment you start explaining yourself to everyone, you start bleeding energy into conversations that don't grow you. You start wasting your strength on people who were never listening to understand, only to reply. There's a quiet kind of power in learning that not everyone deserves an explanation, and not everything needs to be justified. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. You see, when you constantly explain yourself, you're trying to convince others of something they may already have decided not to believe. You're pouring your peace into empty cups, and the more you explain, the more you give people permission to doubt you. But when you remain silent, you shift the dynamic. Silence says, believe what you want. I know my truth. It reclaims your power and turns their curiosity into respect. Not every decision needs to be defended. Not every move requires approval. Not every dream should be understood by everyone, because explanations are for validation, and validation is for those still unsure of their worth. The moment you realize you owe no one an explanation for your growth, your goals, or your peace, you free yourself from the weight of unnecessary opinions. There's a reason the most influential people speak less and do more. They understand that power doesn't come from explaining, it comes from executing. Influence doesn't come from convincing, it comes from consistency. While others are busy talking, you're building. While they're questioning your choices, you're creating results that speak louder than your words ever could. Every time you explain yourself, you invite judgment. Every time you defend yourself, you invite doubt. But when you stay silent, you keep your energy contained. You keep your mystery intact. You keep your influence intact. Because people respect what they don't fully understand. They lean in when they can't predict your next move. That's why silence is not just protection, it's powered. Explanations drain you because they pull you out of alignment with your purpose. They make you focus on convincing instead of creating, reacting instead of rising. And while you're trying to make others understand you, your energy leaks, but silence multiplies that same energy because it redirects your focus inward. It reminds you that your results are your response, your peace is your defense, and your growth is your explanation. Sometimes you have to stop talking about what you're doing and just do it. Stop trying to explain why you walked away, why you changed, why you chose peace over chaos, or solitude over attention. People don't have to understand your journey. They just need to see your transformation. Because explanations never change minds that are determined to misunderstand you. There's freedom in silence. It protects you from arguments that lead nowhere and conversations that steal your strength. It saves you from trying to justify your boundaries, your dreams, and your growth to those who can't see the vision you're carrying. Silence lets your work speak, your progress shine, and your peace echo. And the louder your results get, the quieter your need to explain becomes. That when you stay silent, people notice, they wonder, they question, they think. But when you over-explain, you remove the mystery, the dignity, the aura that comes with stillness. Power is not in proving, it's in knowing. It's in being so grounded in who you are that you no longer need to make anyone else understand it. So choose silence over defense. Choose focus over approval. Choose peace over proving. Because the ones who truly see, you will never need an explanation, and the ones who demand one will never believe it anyway. Let your silence speak for you, and it will echo louder than any words you could ever say. Because explanations drain energy, but silence that multiplies influence. Those who beg for validation lose the strength of their vision. Because the moment you start depending on others to see your worth, you give them the power to define it. The moment you start begging for approval, you surrender your direction to the opinions of people who were never assigned to your destiny. Vision fades when you start seeking permission to pursue it. Validation is a silent thief. It doesn't steal loudly, it steals quietly, one compromise at a time. You start adjusting your dream to make it acceptable. You start watering down your voice to make it likable. You start dimming your fire so others feel comfortable in your light. But the truth is, no one can validate what they didn't give you. No one can confirm a calling they didn't create. When you beg for validation, you trade your authenticity for acceptance, and that's a transaction that always ends in emptiness. You don't need to beg people to believe in you. You don't need to convince them of your value. You don't need to prove that your vision is real. Because vision doesn't need validation, it needs discipline. It needs focus. It needs courage. Most people won't understand your path because they weren't built to walk it. They'll question your pace, your process, your priorities, but that's because they can only see from where they stand, not from where you're going. When you beg for validation, you lose your power to lead. You begin to move according to applause, not alignment. You become addicted to being liked instead of being purposeful. You start seeking approval instead of pursuing progress. And in the process, your vision becomes blurry, not because it disappeared, but because you stopped looking at it through your own eyes. Vision requires conviction, and conviction requires confidence. You cannot lead with clarity while depending on others to confirm your direction. Because the world can't validate what it doesn't understand, and people fear what they can't categorize. If your dream looks strange to them, good, it means it's bigger than them. The truth is, visionaries always walk alone before they are followed. They are mocked before they are respected, ignored before they are remembered. That's the price of seeing what others can't. When you stop begging for validation, you begin to see how much energy you've wasted trying to fit in. You begin to realize that your uniqueness is your leverage, not your liability. You start standing taller, walking straighter, and speaking clearer, not to be noticed, but to be aligned. Because the moment you stop seeking permission, your vision finds momentum. You start creating instead of competing. You start leading instead of waiting. You start moving from insecurity to identity. The need for validation will always whisper, "Are you sure you're good enough?" But your vision answers back, "Watch me become." Every time you choose authenticity over approval, your vision grows sharper. Every time you say no to people pleasing, you say yes to progress. Every time you stop begging for someone's acceptance, you take another step toward freedom. Never forget approval is temporary, but purpose is eternal. People's opinions change with the weather, but vision stands like a mountain. Don't build your destiny on the unstable ground of public opinion. Build it on the foundation of inner conviction, because the same people who doubt you today will celebrate you tomorrow, but only after your results speak for you. You don't need their permission to be great. You don't need their applause to move forward. You don't need their confirmation to continue. Your vision is valid simply because it was born in you. Stop begging for validation and start walking with conviction. The world will notice the moment you do that, because those who beg for validation lose the strength of their vision, but those who stand firm in self-belief become unstoppable. So hear me tonight. Never chase, never beg, never explain. Don't let the noise of the world make you forget the sound of your own power. You don't need to prove who you are. You need to be who you are. Walk in silence, stand in peace, move with purpose, and hold your head high knowing that you are enough just as you are. Because your silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. Your stillness is not surrender, it's strategy. And your peace is not escape, it's evidence that you've evolved. The moment you stop chasing people, you start chasing destiny. The moment you stop begging for attention, you start attracting opportunity. The moment you stop explaining your worth, you start embodying it. Let your life become the loudest statement you ever make. Let your growth speak louder than your words. Let your peace confuse the noise around you, and your silence command the respect your words once had to fight for. You were never designed to beg, you were designed to build. You were never meant to chase, you were meant to create. You were never called to explain, you were called to exemplify. So go out there and let your calm become your confidence. Let your focus become your fire, and let your silence become your superpower. The world is waiting not for your words, but for your walk. So walk boldly, move purposefully, lead quietly, and let your results do the talking. Good luck. Stay unshakable, stay grounded, and thank you.